All right, everybody, welcome to a live chart chat session from the Drstoxx live options room. Normally, we come to you from the live trading room, but now I've launched a new service, started about a month ago, which focuses exclusively on options. And for the most part, we're buying calls and puts, long calls and puts. We do a few spreads. We did one covered call. Actually, we did it twice. Same stock, but we did it twice. One was a win, one was a miss. But we're doing really well. We're off to a really good start. We've closed a number of positions already. We've banked over 700% in win, right? Return on equity. That's a cumulative number, so that doesn't mean our accounts are up 700%. But if you took every trade and you added up the ROI per trade, you would get over 700%. All right, guys, if you're interested in joining us here, it's a great group of traders, all skill levels, experience with options or none. Come join us. I'll teach you how to trade options, and you can do that by going to drstoxx.com. That's drstoxx.com. Go to the subscribe button, scroll down to the live options room, click on that, and you're good to go. So today I don't have a whole lot of time. In the next 15-20 minutes, we're going to go over a few tricks of the trade, a few tools that I like to use. I always go throughout the trading day over to finviz.com. It's a very good one-stop shop for all things trading. And at the top of the chart, I like to look at the 4 10-minute charts here for the major indexes. You've got the Dow, the NASDAQ, the S&P, and the Russell 2000. Below that, you've got some market internal ratings. You've got how many stocks are going up today, how many are going down. When that is right about even, you know it's a pretty flat, mixed market. That's pretty much where we're at today. Things are pretty mixed. Not a whole lot of bullishness as we saw yesterday, but not much bearishness either. And I like to look at how many new highs versus how many new lows. When you see that starting to edge closer to more and more new lows hitting the tape, then you know you're in a pretty weak market. Even if the indexes are up near all-time highs, if you've got a lot more new lows, stocks trading down at 52-week lows than 52-week highs, you've got some problems on the internal side. And that's been happening. We've been seeing that because it's really the Mag 7 group, the big cap blue chip tech stocks at the top of the index that are driving things higher. And we're not seeing yet a whole lot of internal participation in some of those lower down, smaller cap groups. That's not entirely true because that has been turning. So we've been moving back closer and closer to a more broadly based participation in this rally, and that's a good thing. We want to see that happen. It also means there's a lot of good opportunity out there in some of those sectors that have been lagging. If they're starting to outperform, and if maybe some of the money in the big blue chip stocks is coming off the table, we have a really good opportunity, right, to outperform. In any case, it's also the heat map. Always take a look at the heat map, so it will show you what sectors are hot, what sectors are not. You can see the mag group are these big blue, boxes here. The bigger the box, the bigger the company, the bigger the market cap. Most of those guys are red. NVIDIA, having a great day. It's been back to its leadership quality. I think 140 is probably going to be a limit for a while, but we'll see where that goes. And Apple, pretty strong today. We had a trade on Apple in the other room, live trading room, and we just banked that out into strength because it hit some resistance and started to look a little bit squirrely. All right, so that's one trip. finviz.com, click on the home page. You're going to see who's reporting earnings. In the next few days, you're going to get a read on economic data that comes out each day. You've got insider buys, insider sells, and hot stocks and falling stocks, right? Really good place to get a big overview of the market and get a good feel for what's going on in the market today. The other place I like to go is Investors Business Daily. Now, I am a partner with Investors Business Daily and have been for about 4 years. I use their market surge screening tool, charting tool, stock lists, watch lists, and so on with the proprietary IBD metrics that measure growth, accelerating growth margins, return on equity, sales, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. in a proprietary fashion, and then they give you one big number, right? They call that the comp score. They give you one big number that incorporates all that stuff, fundamentals and technicals, and it's a very easy way to rank stocks. You know, if you're kind of torn between, do I buy Google or Microsoft? Well, look at the comp score. Take the one with a higher comp score, and you're in a stronger stock in a stronger company doing that. Very good, very great tool. The tool I wanted to show you today is a similar one I sometimes refer to called the leaderboard. They have a very good track record. And why isn't that coming up? Seems to be a little stuck. All right. Anyway, the leaderboard is a list of the market leaders, and they rotate in and out. You know, almost once or twice a week, you're going to get a rotation of some kind. Sometimes a stock will fall off the leaderboard because it broke a moving average. Sometimes stocks are put back on the leaderboard. I'm not going to do that. I shouldn't be having to log in because I'm already a member. All right, the other tool I wanted to show you. If you get on, if hopefully you're a member of StockTwits, because that's where I post most of my charts and market information and market observations and predictions and so on. Follow me on StockTwits, and you'll kind of get a good sense for how I'm feeling about the market, where I see money moving, what are the best opportunities right now. And if you get on their mailing list every day, every night, you will get their chart art email. I do recommend this. Now, you have to be quite selective with all of this stuff. They'll give you some market information here. I don't really pay much attention to that. Trending signals, don't pay much attention to that. What I like to do is scroll through the charts that they have listed here, because sometimes I'll come across a chart of a stock that I don't follow, don't know much about, and it's making a really nice move, or it's got a really nice setup, or it's breaking out, or it's falling down. And I didn't know about these things before because, you know, I only have two eyes and there's some 10,000 stocks out there. So I use this as a nice way of streamlining my research process. Most of the time, I just ignore what's on the list here because I don't really like the setup. But every now and then, a couple of times a week at least, I'll see a chart, I'll see a stock that I didn't know about at all, making a great setup, and I put that on my watch list. So I like to scroll through these. They frequently feature my charts on here as well. And let me show you a couple that I do like going forward. So this is the Cybersecurity Fund. Um, there are two of these. There's Hack, HACK, which is usually the one I use if I want to play the whole cybersecurity sector. Bug is another one. This is a little more of a global cybersecurity fund. Hack is more about United States, American companies. We just had earnings out from PANW. The earnings were good, but they got hit by the market. I'm not quite sure. It was a little bit of a miss maybe on the guidance. But Crowd, Fortinet, Cyber, those three especially, and I would put them in this order: Fortinet, Crowd, and CyberArk. Those are your top three cybersecurity plays, and really, maybe the three top software plays. They're all very strong companies. They're growing like crazy, and of course, cybersecurity is has a massive demand right now. They're just breaking out, not just those stocks, but the index itself, which has a number of laggards in it, breaking out to new all-time highs. So keep an eye on cybersecurity plays, especially those three: Crowd, Fortinet, and Cyber. What was the other one that I was interested in? Snow is not having such a good day today. Was it CPANG? No. Oh, this one here. So BHF, I don't know it. So here's a good example of one that I like this setup, right? Shoot way higher. I assume that's on earnings or some kind of news. What's called an expansion move, right? Big expansion move, totally outside of the range. And then we have this nice pullback coming down to near the 20-period moving average. And with a reversal bar on very, very, very good volume. I'm interested in this one. I haven't even looked at it yet today, but we'll see what the charts look like. Okay, so just some tools to kind of help you out. FinViz probably a good idea throughout the trading day to jump over there and take a look at that homepage. Um, the leaderboard on Investors Business Daily, and Investors Business Daily also has a lot of free tools. They give you a stock of the day. They give you, where does the market in an uptrend, downtrend, sideways consolidation, etc. You've got a number of other articles on there that are really helpful. But the leaderboard, the market surge primary screening and charting tool that I use, and then leaderboard, which is a very good list of market leaders that you should keep abreast of throughout the weeks of your trading. And then get on the StockTwits mailing list. You'll get the chart art email every night. It will often show you charts that you didn't even think about, didn't even know about. And it's a very good way of leveraging other people's view of the market, pulling them together into a consolidated read, and then you can be selective from among those, pull out the ones that you're really interested in. The last tool I want to show you is Black Box Stocks. I'm not a representative of Black Box Stocks, but I do use it. They're having a very good sale that I think ends at the end of today because it's a Valentine's Day sale, and today's Valentine's Day 2025. And it's $777 for the whole year. That's a good $110 cheaper than I paid for mine. And the price I paid was already discounted from their standard price of about $9.99. So if you're interested in Black Box Stocks, I would suggest you take advantage of the sale and take a look at it. It's a very good place to find unusual option flow. You get a set of alerts. These come out every few minutes. The most unusual volume contract per open interest. And are these guys buying above the bid, above the ask, selling below the bid, that kind of thing? And sweeping through, you got order right in a row. That's a sweep. So you have all kinds of different ways of categorizing unusual options activity, and unusual options activity typically points you in the direction of something about to happen in a stock. So you have to understand how to read these, right? You've got to look at the options expiration, how much time to expiration. Are they going at the money, in the money, out of the money? How much money is going into each of these, right? Is it a big $2 million trade, or is it a $20,000 trade? You've got to know the difference. But if you follow through on the flow, pay attention to it. And if you they have a very good class. It's a free class on how to read option flow. That's a very good place to start if you're new to this kind of thing. Then you go over to flow, and this will give you a really good sense of what's going on in the market right now, right? You've got a whole string of calls right in here and a whole string of calls just below that. And that suggests that, the market's been kind of pulling back in the last half hour or so. Looks like the market's ready to bounce back because we're getting a long string of calls at some pretty big numbers, right? 125,000, 280,000, 340, 344, well, that's a put on Tesla, 1.7 million. Okay, let's stay away from Tesla. BABA 639, DraftKings 218, Tesla calls this time 839, BABA calls 702. So you're seeing like BABA, right? BABA is showing up quite a bit. So you can just click on that name and you get all the puts and calls that have been bought above $100,000 each in the name of BABA. And you can see calls. The chart itself has been in a downhill trend. You can see over here in the 5-minute chart, maybe double bottoming down here, but maybe BABA's a little, it's getting some renewed interest. Now, these are all at different expirations. There are different strike prices. There are different values. So you kind of have to look for patterns. You look for patterns in those things. And then, you might be able to latch on to a really nice short-term trade. And if you start to, BABA's, of course, very, very popular among option traders. If you start to see ticker symbols in here that don't show up very often, Twilio is not that often, not that common. And look at how many calls are being bought today in Twilio. It reported earnings last night. I think it got knocked back on earnings, but people are seeing this as a buying opportunity. Okay, I didn't know that. Until I looked at this call flow. I knew about the earnings. I knew that it got knocked back, but I didn't know that there was so much interest and a pretty good size here too. So much interest in seeing Twilio come back up again. So keep an eye on that. Let me just see if there's anything else unusual here. SoFi, you don't usually see that very often. Oh, look at this. Oh, and look at the chart. Wow, straight up. Some big sweepers coming in, and out to January of 2027, out to June of this year. Sorry, next year, June of next year. Gee, these are guys with long-term visions. Current price is, where is current price? 16 and change, and they're up there at 17, at 20. Here's an in the money. Here's an in the money. So let's keep an eye on Sophie. All right, we'll take a look at Sophie. Let's get over to some charts. We'll finish up with this. There's my chart. So I use TradingView for charts, and I typically have on 3 screens here: the daily chart over here on the left, the hourly chart in the middle, the 5-minute chart off to the right. I'm typically trade swing trades from the daily chart. I look at the hourly chart just to confirm that there's some good stuff going on under the surface. And then I typically use the 5-minute chart to time my entry. So for example, this is app, right? A lot of interest in app. It got shot way up on earnings, way up on earnings, like from 350 to 500 overnight. And then it came way down after the open yesterday. Today it's been bouncing back higher. But if you go over to the 5-minute chart, you can see that we're pretty overbought. We're up here in the blue zone of the linear regression channel. That's usually not a place to buy. So I would say it's not a buy right now, but if you're already long, it's a hold. Right? You can see this big reversal, right? This is the hourly chart. Opened up very high yesterday. It was a sell all day long. Held a bottom right around 450. 450, exactly 450. And then it's been uphill ever since. The time to buy was either yesterday's close or the open today. Big green stick like this, don't buy that, please. Please don't buy it. I mean, yeah, you might be able to scalp out a couple of handles or even 5 to 10 handles, but the risk up at the highs of the day is just the risk reward ratio there is not very good. But it's a great hold. If you're already long, God bless you, and keep at it, man. Keep at it. All right, let's look at let's go to the daily chart, and I think there was some request for Google and Microsoft. I'm interested in both of these, so we have both of these long in the room via some call spreads. So we've got a little bit of downside protection, but just not getting much traction yet. And that is a little bit of a concern, but I have to say this about Google. It's in the cloud space, and the cloud sector today has been really hit. They were down about 1.5% not too long ago. So the fact that Google is still above its open and holding its own, printing a little bit of an inside day bar here is a pretty good thing. Volume balance for Google, you can see down here, very good. This is a stock under accumulation. Typically, that just takes a little time after a big knockdown like this, especially on earnings, which is what it was. Earnings were good. It was a double beat. They matched in expectations on their forward guidance, but they missed a couple of numbers on some of their product lines on the sales, on the revenue side, and that was what knocked them down so hard. So it took a couple of weeks, or at least a week and a half, to kind of find an equilibrium. They're down below the linear regression channel. Only 5% of all price action takes place outside of the linear channel, so the chances are very good it's going to move back inside. I would suspect that hitting the 21 period moving average and then getting to the top, now the bottom of that gap, the big earnings gap, is probably going to be a ceiling for a while. So around 192. If we get back up to 192, our call spread is going to look pretty good. So let's just wait. We just have to be patient. We've got plenty of time until expiration. So this is a patient hold, but I think if we have patience, we'll be okay with it. Microsoft. So this is looking a little less robust than Google. Why? it's not only down on earnings, but it also has a pretty negative volume balance in the last couple of weeks. Google has a positive balance. Microsoft has a negative balance. We're also now below the supporting trend line, which is not a major problem because trend lines tend to not be as robust as horizontal price channels. You know, when you get down to a price where it bounced sharply in the past, it typically bounces sharply again. But when you get down to a trend line, the price just likes to move over that, underneath that, up and down, one side one day, the other side the other day. Trend lines get kind of, you don't think of them as lines, actually. Think of them as areas that mark a cluster of lows at the bottom and a cluster of highs at the top. And that's a trend line. Trend lines are porous, very porous, and it's not a big deal if they get broken as long as it doesn't keep going down. Um, the price channel lines, the horizontal lines, tend to be much stronger. All right, so what's going on here with Microsoft? Well, one good thing is that we do have a lower low forming, and stochastics is starting to print a higher low. We don't yet have confirmation of a bullish divergence. We had that a little bit ago. It didn't really play out very well, but I think we're going to get a better bullish divergence signal here in a couple of days. Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. This is another very patient hold. It is Microsoft. All the funds have to buy the dip, so we should at least see some price stability down here around 407, 405 maybe. And we're down in the pink zone of a slightly uptrending LRC. This is typically a pretty good place to buy shares of Microsoft, right? Buy the pink in an uptrend, sell the blue in a downtrend. Here's another pink zone area. This was in the pink zone. Both of those times were very good buys in Microsoft. I suspect with some patience and some time, we should be okay going forward. Someone is asking me in the room about RIVN. Yeah. All right. Yeah, good. So earnings are coming up. I don't know if you want to be in it over earnings. I tend not to hold my positions over earnings unless it's a long-term hold. Like I'm in Tesla and Nvidia and Apple and Google and Microsoft in my long-term portfolio, and I hold over earnings all the time. And those I've been in all of those for several years now, 7, 8, 9 years sometimes. But the short-term swing trades holding over earnings it's pretty much of a coin flip. You can get great earnings. They beat estimates on the top line and on the bottom line, and they raise forward guidance, and the CEO says one bad word during the conference call, and it's right back down. We saw that with Coin last night. Coin reported last night it was a double beat. They raised guidance. They were up about 6-7% from yesterday's open, and then somewhere during the conference call, which I didn't listen to, a stumble was made. Maybe the CEO is just being very conservative, which is a good thing, and not getting too optimistic about forward. He's managing expectations, right? But the market didn't like it, and it was down. It lost that 5 or 6%, and it went down about 5 or 6% by the time we got to the morning open. All right, so RIVN. Here's the thing I always say about RIVN. I live in Naples, Florida, right? It is a very wealthy area with a lot of people in the money management business, and you're going to see the fanciest, most beautiful cars driving the streets of Naples. Bentleys and Ferraris and Maseratis and Mercedes and everything else. So I've been seeing quite a few Rivian cars and really trucks. I guess most of them that I've seen are trucks. And it's a pretty nice looking truck, I have to say. I'm not a big fan of trucks, but it's a nice looking truck. And I've been seeing more and more of them. So I assume that they're starting to sell more and more. And Naples is a very good place to note car trends. It was the Tesla car that I started seeing in every neighborhood and 4 or 5 on our street that tipped me off to Tesla stock quite a while ago. So Rivian, I think, is going to have a good future. I wouldn't myself be holding over earnings, although if I say that, you'll probably sell out here and then it'll go up 20%. So you take your own risk. You do what you want. But I kind of like this chart. For one, let me put on the other moving averages, and we'll see what's going on here. Here's your 50, and here's your 200. Okay. And I'm going to have to get off here in just a couple of minutes. We'll make this the last one. Yeah, so the 21's below the 50. It's not really what you want to see, but it is starting to curl higher. The 50 is above the 200. That's good. The LRC is uptrending. That's good. We're starting to push off the 200. That's good. You've got some pretty light volume yet coming in. So I'll tell you what, if it were me, I would be taking profits. If I bought down here off the 200 and it's up a good 10%, I would be taking my profits. Let's take a look at a couple of our positions. So Bitcoin is down in the pink zone, had a big day on Wednesday, inside day bar yesterday. That's not horrible. Gapped up, started running higher, come back down to about where it opened today. So it's just been pushed around by every little headline. But I do think that this is nicely set up, right? We've got the oversold stochastics. You've got pretty good volume balance here with big accumulation going on. You're down in the pink zone. Everything's uptrending. This little box right here is a volume shelf, which means when it gets down into that from above, it tends to push back to the upside, and we just have to wait. We also bought silver. Yeah, silver's a great looking chart. Now it's a gap and crap today, unfortunately, and this is it just happens, right? It happens actually quite a bit. When you gap way up, come all the way back down to close the gap. Today's not the day to get out of silver, but I think if we wait a couple of days, we'll probably get it to reverse back up. This is a breakout move. Your breakout took place right there. Took a couple of days to get above. Nice little coil underneath that level. And we are above that line. And as long as we stay above that line, we should see a pretty good move steadily on up to 31.50. And that's probably where we would then look to take profits on our calls. All right, guys, I got to run. I love you all. God bless. I'll see you back in the room in a little bit after I take a lunch break. Bye for now.